Well, I think it came after we were calling you Pablo. On the surface level, it was because I was trying to mould myself a leotard out of felt, and felt, together with fat being one of boys' primary materials, it seemed appropriate that if you were painting and I was sculpting, I should be boys. But on a deeper level, I think it is to do with his part in the tradition of performance art. I'm interested in making work that can acknowledge histories of performance art as well as dance. This is specific in my interest in the costume of a sculpted leotard. Of course, dance and theatre has to be costumed, but I was investigating how the costume could become an art object in itself and how it can frame the body as sculptural too. This is also linked to my interest in particular artists such as Cindy Sherman, Tammy Ben-Hur and Miranda July, particularly with her Atlanta video, who are dresser-uppers, but not in the sense of becoming a character like the way an actor dresses up. Rather, there is something suggested between the costume and the real person. When I was working with Agatha Snape with the fondue set, she showed some pictures of the work of VID00167, an artist who made brightly painted objects that he then got female curators to interact with as performances. Something from this resonated with me about the performer and the object. I think it's to do with me wanting the costume and set not to be signifiers that support the reading of the dance towards one definite meaning, but instead for there to be a dialogue or interaction between these elements. I'm not sure if I'm being clear. I read in a brochure yesterday about someone else's work saying it was on the line between performance art and dance, and I think that's kind of my aim. I understand that they are different languages, but it's my ambition to create work that can sit in the middle somewhere, that has a different set of rules to theatre space and time, but nonetheless has dance as its primary function and interest. It seems so basic to say that I want to make dance that can frame the body or speak about the body, but because isn't that what all dance does? But actually, I think a lot of dance negates looking at the body and kind of ignores the everyday meanings of it. I've seen so many pieces recently with girls in short shorts practically flashing their vaginas, which I'm sure is an unintended result of wanting to stick legs in the air or complete a codified mood so that it's not even thought about. I keep thinking about how in dance there's a lot of all this other unintended meaning that is speaking to me just as loud as the intended meaning, which I think comes from modes of training. But I'm interested in how a body can be an everyday body, a pedestrian body, a woman's body with all that that means, and still be a dancing body. I've wandered off the point, but I think that I want to use the costume to help realise this, so that it speaks costume or object rather than it being something that comes intrinsically with the dance. It's my interest in performance art too that led me to the Futurists. Initially that was to do with their framing of the body in performances, like performing plays where only the feet of the performers were seen, or the body is framed with massive conical attachments on the arms. But increasingly I'm interested in the philosophy of speed and nihilism. And the future that they desired to speed into so fast was a mechanical one. Now our future or present is digital. You got me reading Paul Virilio. Is it too hard for me to ask you how you read his work in relation to what you're doing? And just before you do that, I just want to go back to the theme of boys and Pablo. I went to MoMA the other day where there's a survey of work of Martin Kippenberger. One of the rooms is filled with paintings of him as Pablo Picasso, from a photo of Picasso when he was quite old, wearing a giant pair of underpants. And the curator's note said, Kippenberger repeatedly invoked canonical modern artists such as Picasso, Matisse, Joseph Beuys and Gerhard Richter in his art. These are never simple tributes to his predecessors nor attacks on them, but are rather nuanced examinations of their mythic personae and by extension his own identity as an artist. I think we're doing nuanced examinations too, and basically big noting ourselves by picking such famous ones.